name's Maffett, and I'm the lucky man who gets to commentate on Avro Vulcan XH558 when she displays at air shows round the country. And as I say, I'm a very lucky man.
How did you get this plum job?
Well, I've been commentating for about 30 years. I'm hoping to get the hang of it one of these days. I'm also a professional broadcaster, and in the dark days when Vulcan XH558 was being restored, and there were some very dark days because she was always about to run out of money, there was a particularly bad period, and I was able to get BBC Television and Sky Television involved at her rollout from the hangar where she was being restored at Bruntingthorpe, and they came and spent virtually all day with us, and I've been involved ever since.
Are you credited with saving it for the nation?
No, absolutely not. You know, it's been an amazing team job, but you know, those little things are sometimes important. And you probably know yourself that in media it is all very hit and miss. The best laid plans often go very badly awry, and the media don't react the way you would like them to, but on this occasion they did.
It's very much a case also in life of it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Well, there is something of that in it, I'm sure. And of course, at that stage, it's easy to forget this because now Vulcan is the most popular aeroplane in the country, and you know, millions of people literally love this aircraft. At that time, not so many people knew about her, and there were more people saying no, this can never be done. It seems, or it seemed at the time, than there were people being positive.
Well, she's always been about. I know that that's pretty obvious, but she's always been at the Mildenhall air shows that we sadly have gone now, but that we used to attend. In fact, I've got a lovely thunderous YouTube video featuring Flight Lieutenant Paul Milliken flying her like a maniac.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, I mean, when she came out of operational service with the RAF, they kept, you know, there were no Vulcan squadrons left, but they kept this one aircraft, XH558, on as what was called the Vulcan display flight because everybody loved her so much. And that didn't stop until 1992, and then she was finally disbanded from the RAF in 1993 and taken over by the Walton family. Which was her saving, because they bought her and all this mountain of spares and kept her at Bruntingthorpe. And then eventually, you know, to cut a very long story short, well, 17-year story, with the arrival of Dr. Rob Fleming and you know, scores of other people, she finally made it back into the air in 2007.
With the recent twin Lancaster flights gripping the nation, one called Thumper and one called Vera, isn't it time perhaps to choose a sexier name for this Vulcan than XH558?
Well, yes, except that, you see, when the Lancaster was around, aeroplanes did have names like that. They by and large don't these days. Since she's the only Vulcan, I just call her, and incidentally quite a lot of people say, it's an it, shouldn't call it a she, but I think she's a she, like ships are. But, you know, I just call her Vulcan, because there is no other. So I don't think she needs another name. It's interesting that you should mention the Lancasters, because, of course, in August, we had this unique event of the three Avro sisters flying together, a Vulcan and the two Lancasters. I say unique, it's never happened before and it will never happen again. But these three aircraft were all designed by the wonderful Roy Chadwick and built by the amazing Avro company. And to see the three Avro sisters flying together over what will be a very spectacular Bomber Command memorial when they get it built was a moment of really great emotion.
I think the three Avros have captured the nation's attention.
Indeed they have, and Vulcan we've always said Vulcan is well, always, for quite a long time now, we've said Vulcan is the most popular aeroplane in the country, and that was more or less proved this year, because at the Farnborough Air Show, which if anybody in the country who's ever heard of an air show has heard of Farnborough, if no other, they polled 16,300 Facebook followers, about what was the most popular item in the flying display, the Red Arrows came second and Vulcan came top. And just to show this wasn't a blip, a couple of weeks later at the Bournemouth Air Show, they did a similar poll through the local newspaper, not nearly so many people, but with the same result. So she is astonishingly popular. And although I know her very well and I see her lots of times, I still have difficulty putting my finger on exactly why that might be.
It's that howl that drives everybody crazy, isn't it?
Part of it. I mean, it's rather than the howl, it's the hole. You know, it's the noise she makes, and of course she makes your chest rattle when she's really under power. She sets off car alarms on airfields and things like that. But it's the shape, it's the presence. She's the only four-jet British-built aircraft left flying, and she has this amazing presence. She's so beautiful and so graceful, and people have really taken her to their hearts. And I always describe her now at air shows as your Vulcan, because you know, 20 million quid has been raised so far to keep her flying to where she is today, and the majority, the bulk of that has come from British people. It's a quite extraordinary, as well as being an amazing feat of engineering, I think it's an amazing feat of fundraising.
On the downside, what's all this horrible rumour that this is her last display year?
Well, it's probable that 2015 will be her last display year. Last year, in 2013, we thought that was going to be her last because she needed this urgent modification to her wings because they were running out of so-called fatigue life. They were basically wearing out. No Vulcan had ever had to do this before, although it was in the plan, because no other Vulcan had ever been around for so long. And it was going to cost an extra £200,000, and we didn't think we could raise the money. But people just did, and a huge effort went into raising the money, and people came up with the money. And then the next problem was that because it had never been done to an existing Vulcan, there were no plans, no detailed plans for it, no formers for the right shapes, no plans to put the rivets in the right place. And Cranfield University did an absolutely amazing piece of reverse engineering to find out how to do it, and came up with the results. And Beagle Technology came up with the actual mechanical stuff to make it work. So that was all done, and now her fatigue life for the airframe, for the airplane herself, is fine, you know, into the foreseeable future. Now it's a question of when the engines are going to run out of their amount of cycles that they're allowed, which will probably happen at the end of 2015, although even that, you know, may possibly be extended.
Well, we look forward to the future and many happy landings for the Vulcan. Thank you for sparing your time. Is there anything else you'd like to add? You've got the world at your feet on YouTube.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you, Steve. I would like to say that if anybody wants to contribute, we have to raise £38,500 every week, £2 million a year, basically, to keep her going. If you're by your mobile phone, you could text VULC 145, that's Vulc 145 for 14 the year, and £5 is the amount you're going to give by doing this, and you text it to the number 70070, and it'll cost you a £5 plus your standard text charge. And of course you have to have the permission of the person who pays the phone bill, and Vulcan to the Sky, the trust that operates her, the charity that operates her, will get all of that £5. So they'll really appreciate it. They'll thank you and ask you if you want to gift aid it. So Vulc 145 to the number 70070. We'll be immensely grateful, and you will have contributed something to this wonderful machine.